Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. Good morning to one and all present here. I, Samina Kosa, and my fellow speakers come to feel immense joy to conduct one-day state-level conference on foundational literacy and numeracy and national education policy under the aegis of CBSE in the backdrop of G20. As we all know that we cannot build a great building on a weak foundation, so foundation becomes very important. So in this seminar, we are focusing on foundational literacy and numeracy under the national education policy. The vision of this mission is to create an enabling environment to ensure universal acquisition of foundational literacy and numeracy, so that by 2026-27, every child achieves the desired learning competencies in reading, writing, and numeracy at the end of grade 3rd, not later than grade 5th.
Matang Charles Giving Chichizanaya, Tekun Tar Kelpota, Tashi Legup Yong Chetu, Marme Jarjetanya Po, Uduk Stendel, Tacheselam, Pronouncing Yotana Jinla, Ringi Sundon Yitso, Rimboche Sunduntan, Genle Geshen Nabakunda Jua Pulen, Sangya Pujetami Nanganetula, Malme Jazet Jachesla, Rimbochikin.
Now I request all the dignitaries to please handle the auspicious lamp. We should strive to welcome change and challenges because that's what helps us to grow. Without them, we grow weak in our comfort and security. We need to be constantly challenging ourselves in order to strengthen our character and increase our intelligence. Man principle is the one who challenges us and brings the best in us. As a leader, she is the one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Now I request Principal of Mahabodhi Residential School and CBSE City Coordinator of the event to please address the gathering.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Our most revered and honorable chief guest for the occasion, His Eminence Professor Samto Rinpoche Chok, former Kalon Tripa, Central Tibetan Administration. Most Venerable Bhikkhu Sanghasena, our revered chairman of Mahabodhi Residential School and founder president Mahabodhi International Meditation Center, Leh Ladakh. Most Venerable Tenzin Tsenlegla, Director of TCB Schools in India. Our other revered members of the Sangha who have accompanied His Eminence and blessed this event for us. Our honored Chief Education Officer Leh Shri Sonam Dorje Namgyal, other distinguished guests, dignitaries, respected principals, educators, teachers, parents representatives, and their children from various schools of Leh and Kargil district. A very good morning to one and all present here and a hearty welcome to the one-day UT state level conference on foundational literacy and numeracy and national education policy 2020 organized under the aegis of CBSE India in the backdrop of G20 and proudly hosted by Mahabodhi Residential School. It is with great pleasure and happiness that I stand before you today to extend a very warm welcome and heartfelt admiration for everyone's worthy participation. I welcome you all to this very special conference on Foundational Literacy and Numeracy and New National Education Policy 2020. We are all the more happy and elated to organize this event in the backdrop of G20 as India proudly assumed the G20 presidency this year. Truly a momentous occasion for our country, a country that deeply committed to democracy, multilateralism, and the true spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam for the world as one family. What could have been a more joyous and opportune time than to have this conference organized in this august presence of such a luminous personality like His Eminence, who is a true scholar, a great thinker, and an educationist par excellence. Your Eminence, we stand in complete awe of your wisdom, profound insights, and strong values you firmly uphold and preach to the world. There could not have been a more befitting person than Your Eminence to inaugurate this event based on education of young children. My heart brimming with gratitude and reverence, I express my deep sense of gratitude to Your Eminence for accepting our invitation on such a short notice and blessing this event. We are truly humbled and will remain indebted to Your Eminence for this kind gesture. I also take this opportunity to welcome and thank our chairman, Most Venerable Bhikkhu Sangasena, the chairman of Mahabodhi Residential School, for gracing this program. We thank Gele for his tireless and selfless contribution to the society in general and Mahabodhi Residential School in particular, and express deep appreciation for the immeasurable support and inspiration he provides every one of us. Under your leadership, Mahabodhi School is truly proud and honored to be nominated by CBSE India and the jurisdiction of CBSE Regional Office Chandigarh to host this event in the Union Territory of Ladakh alongside some of the most prominent schools in the country who are organizing similar events pan-India this year. I also welcome and thank the Chief Education Officer Leh, Shri Sonam Dorje Nangyal Leh, for gracing this event and accepting our invitation to preside over the enriching panel discussion on FLN to be held in the second session of the day. I also thank and welcome Venerable Tenzin Sennegla, the Director of TCV Schools India, for gracing this event with your august presence. I also welcome and thank the President of Sahodhya CBSE Schools of Leh and the Honorable Principals, teachers, and all the students of prestigious CBSE affiliated schools of Leh district who are in the Sahodhya for collaborating and putting on display a glimpse of your marvelous classes and schools through this one-of-its-kind FLN stations this morning. I also thank all my team members of the Sahodhya for being great sports and great team members for many such joint initiatives in the past as well. Last but not the least, I welcome and thank all the other dignitaries, respected members of the Sangha, our panelists for the worthy panelists for the day, the respected principals, teachers, students, parents of all the beautiful schools of Leh and Kargil district for your enthusiastic participation in this event. We're very happy to share that as many as over 300 teachers and over 200 students have registered for this conference within such a short period of time. I also welcome our friends from the media houses, different media houses of Leh for gracing this event and covering this event as well. At the end, I once again welcome you all with the hope and belief that as we embark on this journey of implementation of New Education Policy 2020, I truly hope and pray that this conference will serve as a stepping stone and a guiding stone and something, a great beginning for all the wonderful teachers of our Leh district and Kargil district. I hope that we can have a successful implementation of new education policy, and foundational literacy and numeracy are our pillars of the foundation. So I'm sure with all of your enthusiastic participation and seeing the passion with all of you in the past few days of preparation, I have no doubts that our Ladakh will surely be a great contribution in the Nipun Bharat mission. Thank you very much once again, and have a great enriching day ahead. Thank you.
Tatul menga sampai dok kicok syukan nangjin la ini irtingle ngatang sangmas ini dringir siwes kundun ini gelle sangga senale choa jua pulen ini loptuk jiktang mijiki mitse nangloa tatang dan pe yontan samshik khakjain tetang delte sungshat katin jik syang azat juchesin gelle
Buddhang saranang gacchami Dhammang saranang gacchami Sanghang saranang gacchami. May all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Devas and Nagas, saints and sages from all the directions of the universe may kindly look at us and shower their blessings upon all of us for the success of our coming together this morning in this hall. Our dearest and our most respected His Eminence Sangdong Rinpoche and Venerable Khampo Rigzin Wangyal, Venerable Geshe Tsewang Dorje, and others, distinguished guests on the dais, and all other guests, delegates from various educational institutions, high secondary school and school in different parts of Ladakh, and especially all the principals, teachers, and students. Also, we have among us very special guest from Canada, Dr. Shivakumar, Madam Hui, and her two lovely children, daughter and son. And we also, what a wonderful occasion today. I do not hesitate to say this is yet another historic day in the calendars of Mahabodhi Residential School. I think not only in Mahabodhi, perhaps in whole of Ladakh, because we are having something very unique and special programs as a part of the G20 presidency going on in India. And as part of this, we are very happy that our school have chosen to have this one-day UT state level conference on FLN and NEP under the aegis of the CBSE in the backdrop of the G20. I think they asked me to speak something on this subject. I cannot dare to speak in presence of such a holy person, scholars, ocean of wisdom and knowledge of His Eminence Sangdong Rinpoche Ji. I will not waste his precious time. I am standing here just to extend hearty welcome to His Eminence Rinpoche Ji and the other accompanying venerable monks and all the great educationists, principal, vice principal, teachers and others who have gathered in this hall today to discuss about the value-based education. We are so fortunate today that we have the blessings of His Eminence Sangdong Rinpoche Ji. We can't think of a better, greater or nobler or greater blessings than the blessings of His Eminence Rinpoche. There are many educationists in the world. There are many holy people in the world. There are many Rinpoches in the world. But for me, His Eminence Sangdong Rinpoche is something very special, something very unique. It is easy to find scholarly people, knowledgeable, no problem. It is also easy to find kind, simple Rinpoches or monks. But it is very hard to find who is such a profound scholar, great scholar, knowledgeable, yet down to the earth, yet so humble, so simple, so kind. During my journey throughout the world, I met so many spiritual masters, but I rarely met such a great saint spiritual masters. Not only have such a profound knowledge of Buddha Dharma and other aspects of world or society or human beings, but totally fully living the teachings in his daily life. I hope all of you will agree that some Rinpoche Ji is so humble, so kind. Therefore, I think all of us should feel extremely, extremely fortunate, lucky to have Rinpoche's blessing. There are many educationists with a lot of knowledge about education. But I personally think all modern education, without guided by spiritual values, not only useless but positively dangerous. And here we have now such a holy person to guide us, to share his profound wisdom, how the education should be. Not just acquiring a knowledge, not just collecting information and becoming a walking library, that won't help. But we need to have education of heart. We need to have peace education. We need to include compassion from the right from the nursery to the highest level of education. Without guided by compassion, kindness, our education system, our knowledge will become a Bhasmasura dance. The very knowledge, the very science and technology will kill us. The only to make best use of science and technology and knowledge for the well-being and happiness of people is to bring the spiritual values, compassion, kindness, heart-oriented education, not head-oriented education. We are so fortunate to have Rinpoche. I will not take any more time. Rinpoche has to leave 10:45, and better I shut up and invite Rinpoche to shower his blessings, his oceans of wisdom. Rinpoche, for me personally, has been such a great source of inspiration and encouragement for me personally. Ever since I met Rinpoche, whenever I see the movie, a series of episodes made by Dr. D.K. Modi, during my winter retreat in the mountains last year winter, I've seen all the 54 episodes of the life of Buddha, so beautifully done. And after seeing that movie, whenever I remember or I see Rinpoche, Rinpoche comes to me like the Buddha, so calm. You must have noticed who are close to Rinpoche. In every aspect of it, so calm and so quiet and so mindful, so peaceful, so kind, you know. So grateful to Your Eminence Rinpoche, I know, despite of Rinpoche's advanced age, despite of Rinpoche's tight schedule, Rinpoche just returned from Zanskar, has so kindly accepted our humble invitation to bless all of us here. Once again, from the bottom of my heart, Rinpoche, on behalf of all my staff, students, as well as I take liberty on behalf of all the present here, I express my profound gratitude and thanks Rinpoche for coming and blessing us. And we look forward for your blessings in the future also. Thank you so much, everybody. And I should now stop here and invite Rinpoche. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Ling. Education is the movement from darkness to the light. I thank Venerable Sungasina Lay for lightening up thousands of lives and houses. We are blessed to have you. Indeed, you said it very correctly. We should include compassion, kindness, and heart-oriented education system. Thank you.
Ta itineng atang sangma tutsuk mangpo manena diringis kundon giso kazwang lopon zangdo rimboche chokla laknis thalmojat te jua pulen rimboche chokna diringi doling tang delte kalo lamston chik naro shuayin rimboche chok.
Viduti kalpana jalam gambir udar murtaye naman samanta vadrya samanta trishe. Most respected and my dear very long time friend Bhadanta Sangasan, venerable monks, other dignitaries in the hall, principals, teachers, and dear students. It's a great moment for me during my short trip to Ladakh to see so many people in the journey of wisdom, learning, knowledge. So, my greetings, namaskar, and adab to you all. Bhadanta Sangasan has a very kind heart to me, so he had spoken so many exaggerated things, so you should not carried away by his words. I just said that all these are his viewpoint, not the reality.
All agree. All agree.
It's a very difficult to join such educational program because I am an uneducated person living in the 7th century civilization and yet dealing with the 21st century postmodern people. And sometimes it's very difficult to relate with each other. So you shall have to be patient and pardon for me if I have said something which is not acceptable to you. You are having a seminar, a part of the G20. This year, G20 and C20 is the something everywhere, some kind of program goes on. When I come back from Zanskar, and I was thinking to come to Mahabodhi just to see my friend Badan Sangasan, but at the same time I received the invitation, and I thought it's a good opportunity to see him and also to see many other young friends. I have nothing to say about the education or education system or education policy. As I mentioned, I am not capable of to making any statement about that. But I was asked that by the principal I should speak on the topic design and importance of the Tibetan education policy adopted by CTA. Then I thought I may be in a position to make few statements from that policy which was adopted during my tenure as a Kanuntiba of the CTA. But unfortunately, 12 years have passed. I have tried and retired from the CTA, and I forgot most of the my activities during that period. And also, due to advanced age, memories also become weaker and weaker each day. So then I thought I will read out few sentences from the Tibetan basic education policy, which was adopted during my tenure. And in the beginning, as a history of that policy, which was a result of long time study and research of various things, particularly the things which had happened in India in the field of Shiksha as well as in the education, beginning from 1830s till this day. We have overviewed all these happenings before adopting the policy. And among them, most important was the drastic change which took place in India, disappearing all the ancient education system and enforcing the new English education system evolved by Mr. Macaulay, Lord Macaulay, which you know very well. So that events, and then thereafter what had happened in India, the Arya Samaj movement, and Swami Dayananda, Swami Vivekananda, and then Aurobindo Ghosh, Rabindranath Tagore, later on Jiddu Krishnamurti, and many other important people, spiritual people have tried to re-establish the ancient Indian Shiksha Paddhati, the system. But not much success was given to anyone, particularly Gandhi's system of Navatalim. And Navatalim was as a result of Gandhi's very deep contemplation, and with help of Rabindranath Tagore, and later on Tagore gave one person, Ayanayakam, a Sri Lankan person, Buddhist background, to evolve the Gandhi's thought of education, the Nautale, and they have long stories. And then they have done this, and particularly the education systems are interlinked with the social economic system. And unless Gandhi's social economic ideas are not implemented, alone education system is not able to implement. So therefore, Schumacher was one of the modern economists, and he studied the Gandhi's ideas of trusteeship, and he wrote the economic book, Small is Beautiful. All these great things happened in India, but the so-called mainstream, which is so powerful and huge one, comparing with this mainstream education system, no any other system was able to establish as nationwide. Then we also studied from Radhakrishnan Commission to Ramamurthy Commission, Acharya Ramamurthy Commission. Various commissions have been set up after independence of India. Although India got political independence, but she was not able to get education independence, language independence, or culture independence. After 75 years also, we carry the legacies of Macaulay, and which is so sustained by the help of the society, parents, teachers, students as well. Of course, the new education policy 2020 brought up many new ventures, and it was one of the best policies ever adopted after independence. But the question is how to implement them, how to take advantage the opportunities given in that policy, because all the stakeholders, the four stakeholders of education, the student, of course, first and foremost, the parents, the second, the teachers, the third, and the society as a whole, the fourth. Everyone accustomed with the present system and find it as a comfort zone, and no one willing to come out of the comfort zone and do make some new efforts. So that is the real situation of today. Then I am going to the education policy, basic education policy adopted by CTA, which is also ultimately to compromise with the present structure and system of Indian education, because that is compulsion for everyone. When go into the society, there shall have to be certain degrees or certificates or standardized recognitions. So therefore, whatever we may think of different ways, but ultimately we have to go to that narrow door. In spite of that, we have tried to find out, in consultation with the many great educationists and friends. So the education policy of CTA was adopted. In that policy, few little differences. The majority is the same. The few little differences is the meaning of education. the purpose of education, the aims of education, the system of education. In these 4 points, we have little different idea. I say it idea because to put the ideas into practicality, that is a very hard task. In spite of that, when I adopted this policy, I made a statement in the Tibetan Assembly, said that I have put long-term effort to prepare this policy, not with hope that it will be implemented in totality, but with hope that history will not blame me. Although I have been working as a Kalun Tripa for 10 years or 2 terms, but I have not make a policy, education policy, which is suitable to the humanity and particularly for the Tibetans inside and outside. So therefore, to make my responsibility for the history, I have adopted this policy. And as far as the implementation is concerned, that will depend on the present and future generation. So it was later on I felt true. The implementation is so slow and so partial. So that was just a story. About the meaning of education, we have said that education is to be recognized as a human quality that enable understanding of external objects and phenomena, and that leads to awakening, maturing, and the completion of the potential of inner consciousness. The human inner consciousness has unlimited potential, and that was remained unutilized. So education should have to awaken that inner consciousness and to utilize its full potential. That was one of the meaning of the education. And the education is not to be recognized as merely grasping what is heard from the others. Instead, it's to be recognized as a realization of what is heard through the power of self-confirmation and actualization of what is realized through persistent contemplation. It is this a process of learning through hearing from others, self-investigation, and persistence contemplation. The ancient Indian system of education is the Shuddhi mind pragyan, Chintan mind pragyan, and the Bhavana mind pragyan, threefold stages. First,
you have to have the information, then that information shall have to be processed by your own contemplation and examination, and later on actualize it, realize it through deeper meditation. Education is to be recognized as a unique
inner quality in which the discriminative wisdom and mind pacifying techniques are conjoined into close partnership. specifying and arising the wisdom should be combined. Education is to be recognized as a key to inner technology that transforms social and personal actions into wholesome deeds. Education is not to be recognized as merely means of livelihood. Instead, it's to be recognized as a means of achieving temporary as well as the long-term welfare of the self and the others. In particular, it's to be recognized as a vehicle of social welfare and service. And finally, education is about recognizing the undesired suffering and eradicating its cause, and recognizing the desired happiness and engaging in purchasing of its cause. It is thus to be recognized as a means towards engaging in desirable actions and avoiding undesirable actions. So this was the what is education, what means education. So this was comprised in these few sentences. Then we talk about the purpose of education. Purpose of education is to awaken the developed human qualities of wisdom, loving-kindness, and compassion. They are dependent virtues of right view and the conduct, and that of the creativity and the invasions, and to refine the human perception and sensitivities, and to initiate independent and valid investigation into phenomena and ethical spheres, thus enabling the accomplishment of personal, national, and universal goals. To empower people and nation to become self-reliant, that is, without the need to depend on the assistance or support of others, and to generate patriotic and dedicated person and other resources for achieving the cherished goals of the society and the nation. So these are defined as purposes of the education. I always remember and share with others. My late friend Jiddu Krishnamurti used to say all the time, the purpose of education is to awaken the inner intelligence of the individual, so that the person can flower in goodness automatically. The goodness cannot be imposed or dictated. The goodness shall have to be flower from within. And for that purpose, the inner intelligence of the human individual shall have to be awakened. So that is the purpose and process of education. So these are quite brief. Then we talk about the aims or objectives. What is the aims for educating the people? In that we have choose 4 things freedom, altruism, upholding the heritage, and innovation or change. These four are the basic objectives of the education. Students must be enabled to fully awaken their discriminative faculty of the mind, to be able to distinguish right from wrong. This would be empower them to be competent to make decision with freedom of thought and action, to be self-reliant in livelihood. There's to live without depending on or exploiting others, thereby ensuring their freedom of livelihood by right means, to be able to protect the freedom of the individual and community by non-violence, thereby ensuring the freedom of security. This constitutes the principle of freedom. Freedom of livelihood, freedom of thought, and freedom of security. This constitutes the objective of freedom. By embracing other beings as more precious than the self, and sacrificing the self for the service and welfare of the other persons, the noble spirit of altruism is to be generated and established. This constitutes the principle of altruism. For the sake of future generation, the environment and natural resources must be conserved for the peaceful substance of the planet. And the people must be empowered to uphold their ancient culture heritage, culture and spirit heritage. This ability to preserve culture and the environment constitutes the principle of upholding the heritage. And in relation to the general well-being of the world, in accordance with the needs of the time and place, we must be able to introduce new principles, systems, objects, philosophies, movements, and so forth. This constitutes the principle of innovation or change. So these are the basic objectives or aims of the education. Then coming to the system of education, here we do not talk about the structure, but the process of learning, there should be a kind of system. In the process of learning, nothing is more important than the teacher. In the work of imparting education, a teacher-centered education system shall be followed. Imparting the education, the system is teacher-centered. Unless and until teacher is well qualified in accordance with the education policy, then it will not be able to make the result. However, when the teachers actually undertake the work of teaching, the student-centered methodology shall be followed. In the class work and in the class work is also, we consider it two different natures. The first is imparting the information. The second is the collective learning. Teacher, student should learn collectively. And by that system, then in that particular moment, the system should be student-centered. Students are more important to be considered than the teachers. And then third is, the system of third is the medium of instruction. Medium of instruction should be one's own language. In the Western countries, it is used mother tongue. So I occasionally use the biological language. By our birth, our body has a special conditioning or capacity or potential to speak certain particular language, and that is one's own language. And learning, thinking, and speaking in that language is natural. All the rest is artificial. So, medium instruction is must be biological language of one's own. It may be it may not be feasible immediately, but long-term aim should be there. Then secondly, all the learning and teaching process should be combined with the teaching of the system of pramana nyaya, valid cognition methods. The logic is the most important tool of the education system. Unless the student is enabled to inquiry, examine, analyze the things through different kind of logical system, rationality and reasoning. So that has the reasoning and logical subject is well advanced in India. There are Buddhist logic system and non-Buddhist logic system, particularly the Nayaks and Nayavisheshakas. They have so very advanced system of logic. There should be a part of the entire education system. It may be mathematics, or it may be geography, or it may be anything. But with that, the logic system should be imparted. So these are some particular points which is considered to be important in the process of teaching, learning, and practicing. The knowledge has two levels. The first level of knowledge is just to understand. And the second level of knowledge is just to realize. Realization means by observing the things internally, and then there will be a kind of knowing the thing, not as different from the different between the subject and object. The duality will be disappear. Then you will see directly, without any name or image or thought interference, you will see the thing as it is, without any destruction. That is the real wisdom. And to reach to that real wisdom, the logical process is most important. Logical process is most important to increase your sensitiveness and also your power of analyzation, your power of examination, and as well as to sustain the memory of what you have learned. So these are the few things which the basic education policy adopted by CTA. And then we make a model school for that. And in that model school, many methods of teaching and learning courses which are being brought from Aurobindo Ashram schools and Krishnamurti schools. These are presently available in a minority, but they are doing some basic difference of ways to learning procedure. Particularly the establishment of equality and intimacy between students and teachers. And teachers are not considered to be a kind of controller, authority, who imparts and who instructs the student, do this, don't do that, or it is not. Whatever question comes, the student and teacher should join together and make establish dialogue, and through dialogue a process of inquiry is established, and not in a hurry to find a conclusion or the kind of finding the reality or finding the facts, but to remain with a question and to sustain the process of learning, if possible, for lifelong. Then that's the real a process of education or process of learning. Again, I remember the frequently uttered by Krishnamurti, can you live comfortably with the question without any hurry to find the answer? So that is the real system for learning, to live with the question, not in a hurry to find the answer. And that means the brain and the heart shall have to be work together jointly, and similarly the teacher and the student shall have to work together through a collective learning and through intimacy of heart and mind. So by that way, the real situation or real phenomenon, what as they exist, can be discovered and realized. Students not led to accept the things, but they should reach to the knowing the things. Accepting is at many times accept what has been told by the teacher, what is being written in the textbook. The students think it is or it is not. The Buddha have intentionally and specifically instructs the followers, don't accept my words because of you have proud or you have faith or respect to me. What I have said, you should be examining it from yourself. As the goldsmith examines the purity of the gold by cutting it, by rubbing it, or by burning it in the fire. So this kind of examination, whatever I said, you should examine through logic processes, through rationality and from reasoning. And by that way, what you find the reality, that should be accepted, otherwise not. So this is, I think, the real situation of education process which we need to be follow in the present day as well. So I think I have mentioned a number of things which may not be new to you, but it is worth to pay attention. Accumulation of information should not be understood as education or as knowledge, but process of learning through a right way to reach to the discovery of the subject by itself. That is the process of education. And I hope the educators and the students should pay attention to the ancient wisdom of India. Ancient wisdom of India, one day the modern scientific knowledge will reach to the level of ancient Indian wisdom, then the entire world view would be something different. The situation would be something different. The humanity is facing a number of challenges at this moment. Challenges of population, challenges of disparity of have-nots, challenges of environment degradation, global warming, the real challenge, and challenges of conflicts in the name of religion and spirituality. So there are many challenges which are threatening the existence of the humanity in the future. And all these challenges may not be able to face securely unless and until we have the direct understanding of the universal phenomenon from right view. So for that purpose, we shall have to be, particularly the Indian people shall have to be, look to the ancient wisdom along with the modern scientific knowledge. Binobai has said that the scientific knowledge reached to the ancient Indian wisdom, then the world would be entirely different. And in the beginning, I used to oppose him, criticize him, it may not be possible. But during last 40-30 years, I experienced that His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama's sustained and continued dialogue with the modern scientific people. They are mostly physicists and neurologists and psychologists, and later on other disciplines are gradually joined. Now they have instituted and institutionalized in the name of mind and life. Every year, 2-3 international conferences with science, Buddhist science and modern science are taking place. So which give me hope, and I thought Binobai might be correct. There might be some time the modern scientific knowledge reach to the level of ancient Indian wisdom, and the combination of modern knowledge and ancient wisdom shall give a new way of life for the better world and better universe. We should hope for that, and for that your your generation, the students' generation, has a greater responsibility, and that responsibility, the universal responsibility for the new generation of Indian people must be realized and try to perform. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Sirle. Each word you spoke have an ocean of meaning for all of us. Indeed, you said it correctly. Education should not be recognized as grasping what is heard from others, but grasping what has been possessed from your own oneself. Thank you, Mr.